Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Political Vigilante. I am here with Patreon supporter Darius Engle, who has a fantastic shirt on, the Cynical Optimist. I think.
Right? Life is a half glass full of shit.
Yeah, I think a lot of us progressives would probably categorize ourselves as cynical optimists, because it's like every day we read something that's like, oh God, and then, well, maybe there's some hope, like.
Exactly. I mean, literally every time we turn on the news, if any of our feeds, anything, it's just there's going to be bad news somewhere. We're just expecting it now, so it's like, yeah, this is the way it is. But I'm still optimistic. I mean, maybe shit, but it's half full.
I'm getting hopeful. I just interviewed a woman, Dorothy Gasquet, who is running for the 4th Congressional District I get them mixed up. 3rd Congressional District, I believe, in the state of Washington, Southwest, right there where Vancouver and
right,
that part of
the area,
yeah.
Border.
So, and when she's an Army vet, and she has some really progressive views. And one of the things she said was, my son is 17 years old, and he's been alive the entire duration of the Afghanistan war, and she was deployed in Iraq. So that gives me hope that, like, a vet who deployed over there is like, hey, this ain't right.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, she's seen it. She's been there. She's like Smedley Butler. Back to the history thing. I mean, he was there. If he was alive today, he'd be saying a lot of the same things he was saying then. He probably would just be like, I'm not surprised, in his classic voice, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, a lot of vets, when I was, before Washington dismantled technically its medical marijuana system in favor of recreational, I saw a lot of veterans, because I worked as a medical consultant and in a medical dispensary. And a lot of our patients were vets, PTSD issues, so on. A lot of them progressives. I mean, we closed down, or at least the medical closed down. Our shop was literally the last one closed. And I remember a lot of the vets in there, they were for Bernie, they were for progressive. A lot of them said that, there were a couple that said they wanted to vote for Trump. There's definitely, if they wouldn't vote for Hillary, but they wanted to go for Bernie. But especially after, the primary thing and everything happened, I could see those certain groups. They were just like, that's it, and I'm voting for Trump. And I didn't want to argue with them, because, it's like, well, I mean, it's difficult, when they really got that stand. But a majority of them, though, they were like, from experience, I'm not going to pick. There is no lesser two evils, and I've got to stand up. I've seen it firsthand, so I'm glad she's running for sure.
Yeah. So, what would you like to discuss today, my friend?
Actually, there's so many topics going on in the world right now. So many. I'm not going to go into the whole Roseanne thing. Although I'm proud that she blocked me during the election for Trump, so I'm quite proud that I was blocked first before it was popular to be blocked by Roseanne.
Well, she voted me off along with Norm Macdonald on Last Comic Standing, so we've all had a great run with Roseanne.
Yeah, you bet. You know what? Actually, it's interesting. Even though I said I wasn't going to talk about it, but from a cultural perspective, because I remember when her original show was out. She had a liberal tint. I saw her as a liberal. At the time I was growing up in New England, in Jersey, and we saw her as like a family that deals with our problems. The lower middle class problems. Not that upper middle class, upper management sort of area, but just everyday problems. She sparked a lot of things in her show back then, but a lot of changes over time, unfortunately.
Yeah, what are you gonna do?
That's true, but off the Roseanne thing, just, I think the thing that's been getting on my mind lately, mainly because I was watching a couple of, YouTube videos, some articles I looked into them on, about the change of the jet stream and all the climate changes going on. And I know that, it's a frightening time right now. I mean, because right now we're living in the climate change is happening now. A lot of people think, or at least subconsciously, they'll think, it's coming down the road, we have time, something will help us change. And yes, everything's important, because it's important to do everything we can. But in reality, we're living it right now.
It's a full-on climate collapse that's happening. And I don't know how many more signs people need. We had the worst fire season ever in the state of California. We had 7 category 3 or higher hurricanes. I mean, what do people need to see?
Exactly. I mean, and even on the other side, for like the cold side, this past winter, a lot of people mentioned there were some intense cold snaps, but they were intense. And, I lived for a year in the Netherlands, and I know that they used to talk about how often when they were kids, occasionally, how often, but occasionally they'd be able to, have a couple of days where it was like frozen over the canals, and they would skate. And these are old pictures you'll find. This past winter, the canals in Amsterdam froze for so long that they were actually saying, is it going to stop freezing? And literally, like, people were getting used to it. It was well over a week. I mean, they were solidly frozen. And that's just one example of how, like I said, the jet stream's making a change. And it's, I think it was a movie made about the jet stream changing and things happening very quickly. But it does, just because it's climate change, a lot of people still think global warming. That's why the cynics will bring up, the deniers, whatever you want to call them. They'll bring up, snowball, winter, cold snap. See, there's no global warming. It's not like, a Soylent Green. It's not going to be like that. It's going to be a lot of changes, a cascade effect.
Well, and it's going to go to more extreme. So cold weather areas are going to get colder and more extreme, and warm weather areas are going to get warmer and drier. And places that are prone to flooding are going to get worse flooding. Places that are prone to droughts are going to get worse droughts. And I don't think that's why they changed it from climate change, from global warming. So I don't think people seem to understand. I don't know what it's going to take.
Yeah, exactly. It's a difficulty because there's a certain subconscious denial. Even, especially like, I don't want to say like there's a whole, hashtag, activism and stuff, which can be important sometimes, depending. But still, it's a lot of ways that people think in their minds. It's like, well, I'm doing my bit. I can do as much as I can. But the real fear is, what people don't want to admit, is that it's kind of like a fear of the world changing so drastically. I guess you could want to look at it, and technically the movie Annihilation that came out recently with Natalie Portman, that movie actually touches on climate change. The writer and everything, that's technically about climate change, the world making a drastic change, and the fear of it. A fear of a change, things so different that they can't express it, sort of the fear of death. We all know we're going to die, but like my mother will say, don't remind me. Which I agree with. I wouldn't want to be reminded either, when you're in your latter years. But in a lot of ways, yeah, it's like a self-denial. It's a cognitive issue. But when the tipping point comes, like I said, we're in it right now. That's because the fear is that the cognitive overall will all happen at once. Mm-hmm. Instead of it, and that's sort of like the psychology of the masses, which the psychology of a crowd or a mob. Individually, I believe in the masses. I'm a leftist. I believe in masses and progressive. But when we're talking about crowd mentality, there's going to be enormous amounts of people moving all at once, and it's going to happen on the news really fast, and especially with the economies that are really based mainly on petroleum products. The Saudis, Saudi Arabia, so on. They keep a lot of their information on how much oil they have secret because their economy is so much based on it that if one of them falls, the whole system's going to start to fall. And again, it's going to be like a cascade event where one backup is going to fail, the next backup is going to fail. And it's not going to be like we're going to run out of oil. I mean, right now we're squeezing the proverbial, sponge to get that last bit of oil out of what's, crappy in there. That's, the tar sands. It's garbage. And plus, it even takes more oil to produce. I mean, it's not just the oil, too. And people use the word oil. Another thing that's going to be a problem is petroleum is really what we're dealing with here. And those products are in everything. So, that's going to affect economies and in different ways. Even like solar panels take a lot of petroleum products to be made, and they have to be shipped. So even if we actually had solar panels, it would have to be instantaneous, because to get them all in time would need everybody to work all in unison, and people can't comprehend that.
Yeah, and I don't think people are they don't want to deal with the reality too, and this is going to play into it heavily. Is there's a huge recession coming. None of the banks are regulated. The mortgage industry is acting the same way it did in 2007. there's the student loan bubble, there's the car loan bubble, and I'm wondering. So when this recession hits, and then you're going to have millions of people unemployed and looking for work, and then the weather is going to be more severe.
Exactly.
I don't know what people are going to do. I mean, maybe in that moment, someone will finally wake up and go, "Hey, we need to mobilize all these unemployed people into saving the planet by putting them to work, building green energy and putting money into green technology that could." Because I'm sure there's people researching. I know there's people researching on how to reverse the effects of climate change, and but that takes money and time and researchers. So,
exactly.
The as big as the problems are and how interconnected the problems are, the solutions are as big as, and interconnected as well. Like you put everybody to work, you're solving jobs, you're helping the economy, and you're creating more green energy that helps hopefully reverse climate change.
Right. And the strangest thing is that everything except for the climate change, the climate itself, is all based off of a system. It's all based off of capitalism, the profit motive. So it's a matter of people not only willing to change the way they live, but just their whole concept of living, and they need to do it right away. Because we're technically out of time to really stop and reverse climate change.
Yeah.
Right now, it's almost like, it really is it's a matter of mitigating the losses. It sounds horrible, and that's why I said people are in denial of it, to say the word losses, but that's really what it is. The sooner we start, that means we're saving lives.
Yeah.
Even if it's an individual person, if someone's out there right now and they're thinking to themselves, I have to really fill up the compost thing or the recycle bin. You know what? Even that little bit, that may be someone's life, one extra day for someone.
Yeah.
That every little, and that's how it builds up. But again, we see so many things in the way. The economy, people are in charge, and then again, like you said, it affects economy and jobs. But right now, we're dealing with such horrific situation with migration due to wars, which is actually a drop in the bucket of what's going to happen when countries, which are the top ones like China, India, actually I think it's China's number one, Vietnam, and India's number three, are the ones that are going to be the most affected from just the slight bit of water level rise, because they're so close to the bottom. Technically, Netherlands is going to be the most affected, sadly, because it's going to be literally losing about 47% of its population if there's within a 1 to 2 meter rise or something like that. And that there's a lot of technical things that go into it. I'm not a meteorologist. I just study it, but I do know it's the basic things. The problem is when the ice sheet on the Antarctica slides into the water, it's like ice going into a glass. It's already at its fill. So it's going to the water's going to pour out. So what a bit of those drops is actually whole cities. And I often when that happens, or if because there could be tipping points. Who knows? That's when that mob mentality comes in. So there's going to be a problem with migration. Masses of people moving in, and there's still going to be at that time where it's well, we just lost this area, and unfortunately, in first world countries, China, India, Vietnam, a lot of people don't even think about them that often. When they do, it's a derogatory or just an offhanded thought. Unfortunately, these people are going to move into Russia, because you can look where they are. They're going to move to Russia. India is going to have to be forced to move populations into Pakistan. They're in two nuclear powers. And all this plays into I see a horrible domino effect.
Mm-hmm.
But the most important thing is to just get everything we can and do it as soon as possible. The hardest part is the motivation. Like you said, when are people going to wake up to it? Is it going to take, the point where people are literally having, camps, sort of like, Children of Men with Clive Owen, with that, where the Fugees, the refugees going to be locked up. And it's going to affect everyone. There are areas of London, of England, that are going to have 27% of their population is going to have to move somewhere. Everybody's going to be fighting against each other. So there's no definite answer, but we do know that there are a lot of options, and that every individual bit helps. But the most important thing is that we're going to have to accept that things are going to change, and all we can do is mitigate the losses.
Well, I think to me the motivational factor is the thing I always go back to saying, which is why we have to back progressives at every turn that we can, and this is why I personally, there's no more time to like lesser of two evils and hey, no purity tests and like that. That's over. That's over. I need candidates that are not taking corporate money, that are they're not gonna back down from this. They know climate change is real. They have real solutions that actually put people to work, and that's all I'm down with. I don't want to hear your corporate speaking point nonsense. I don't want to hear it. I'm done. I'm done hearing it because you're the reason we're here. That corporate bullshit is why we're dealing with this. And this, like, you know, for during Bush's era, I heard for 8 years, oh, anyone but Bush, just any Democrat, any blue we can get, just somebody. And they're saying the same bullshit with Trump. It's like, I don't want to hear it, man. We could have had a progressive in the White House, and Hillary and the DNC fucked him. So I fuck them.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I mean, a lot of their efforts have been just stalling. I mean, it's not like this is something new. I mean, we both remember when we were younger. There were back when we were very younger. There was the Soylent Green I mentioned earlier. I mean, even back then, there were early warnings, but there was often people that would say, oh, the neoliberal or liberal view. Oh, well, we're going to have a conference. We'll talk about it, and then maybe we'll have a conference. We'll have a committee, and maybe we'll make a compromise. You can't compromise with what's called planet Earth. Really, it's like we're a self-contained spaceship floating through the empty void of space for all intents and purposes. The people could say whatever, but in general, right here, it's an empty void, and that's like imagining being on a small aircraft and one guy's just like crapping and stuff the ship, and but everyone being like, I don't know, should we debate about whether we should get him to stop? No, you stop it.
Stop it.
Exactly.
He's shooting holes in the roof. He's fucking with the air supply on the ship. Well, there's two sides of every issue. No, there isn't. There isn't.
No, there isn't. This is not a philosophical debate.
No.
These people want to say to us that like 2 + 2 is 4, but it could also be 5, or it could be so on and so forth. It's ridiculous sort of newspeak. And it's it reminds me of something funny. If anybody ever looks up, there's a scene in it's a Monty Python film, and it's called Eric the Viking. And there's a scene where they're going down on an island. Something happens and they're going down an island. They're all saying and denying it, even though they're literally on top of the little bit of the island going down. And they're saying, no, not going to die. What should we do, sir? No, should we have a committee? Yes, I believe they'll be right. And his daughter is screaming, no, you're going down. And literally his word going up. He's like, I think we should be. We don't want to be there. We don't want to be that comical example. I would hate for aliens to come down here thousands of years later and to realize, oh my gosh, this civilization is an example of what we should never let happen, or we avoided, which we would all hope.
Well, yeah. So as we wrap up here, what do you think, other than what we talked, but to sort of summarize, or what steps are you taking personally, and would you recommend to anybody else to take?
Definitely, the most important thing is to, like we said, vote real progressives, people with political fortitude. They're going to stick to their guns and not give you any wishy-washy, anything like that. That's really important, because the capitalism, if you want, a great book, Naomi Klein's book about disaster capitalism, I think it's called, anyway, there's a number of her books fantastic on it. So we got to really vote in progressives. And personally, every little bit helps. Go, join local groups. Get information about how you can, properly do recycling. I know it sounds lame, like something from the '80s, but in reality, like I said, every little bit, every bag of garbage, that could be one person's life.
No, it's a great point. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. One of the greatest things I read in a surfing magazine, the 10 biggest ideas to help save the planet, and one of them that stood out to me the most was from like some 12-year-old kid in like Southern California, Huntington Beach or someplace like that, who came up with a school project he called the Pick Up 3. Every time he goes to the beach to surf, he picks up 3 pieces of trash. And I was like, wow. And I was surfing this morning, and that's what I did. And I picked up, because you can go to the beach or your park and see all this garbage and go, oh, I can't do it all. I'm just one person. But if I go there and think, I got to pick up 3 pieces of trash, and then if I think, well, that's not a lot, actually it is. Let's say I go to the beach 3 times a week. That's 9 pieces of trash a week. And let's say I go to the beach 40 weeks out of the year. That's 360 pieces of garbage I, Graham Elwood, am taking out of the ocean and putting into the garbage.
That's right. And it even though some people would say it's like, oh, isn't that incrementalism? It's not. It really isn't, because every little bit like that helps. Yesterday, I was walking down from along the sidewalk back to my car. I noticed just a piece of garbage on the floor, on the ground, and I took the time to pick it up and put it in the proper receptacle, even though it took just took a second. But if everybody did those little things, it does make a difference, as in mitigating.
It's not incremental. It's actually exponential. Because let's say 100 people pick up 360 pieces of trash a year. That's 36,000 pieces of trash a year. Do you see how it becomes exponential? If every person picks up 3 pieces of trash when they go outside, it becomes exponential. And now hundreds of millions of pounds of garbage are getting picked up. They're getting recycled. If everybody stops using or tries to avoid as best they can, and I know it's hard, single-use plastic, right?
Yeah. Yes. Oh, gosh, yes.
Little things like that. So actually, when you look at the numbers like that, it's not incremental. It's exponential.
You're right. That is a much better word for it. I was thinking about. I think I was trying to already head off anybody in the sphere out there, trying to say, oh, no, you're right. It's exponential. That is a much better way to put it.
Well, Darius, thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much for supporting the show.
I'm definitely going to come out and see you when you're here in Seattle. I think it was what was the date again? It was
August 9th, I will be doing Political Vigilante live in Seattle, and August 11th, I will be doing a stand-up comedy along with Mike Schmidt. The links for tickets are at grahamelwood.com, along with the progressive comedy tour that I'm doing with Ron Placone, June 20th through the 24th. So, Darius, thank you so much, and we will talk to you next month, my friend.
All right.